Welcome to this is our first podcast for 2021. It's so great that you're joining us. I'm here with extraordinary Mr. Matt Lavars.
Thank you so much.
This is your premiere performance.
No, I've been on this before.
Have you really?
I feel really,
wow,
you didn't even remember.
It
wasn't that much of an impression.
It made that big an impact.
No, we did a session. I think we did something in your first season.
Did we?
Yeah.
You didn't come back for season 2.
I
Let that be feedback.
I didn't get invited back, and yeah.
See if you can make good today.
I'm here today.
See if you can make good. So today we're going to be diving into how I set up a new year. Yes. I do this every year. I've been doing it for 17, 18 years now.
Yeah. And
it gives me such a joy to be able to talk about it and share. And people, when they hear it, they really love it. Yes. So let's dive in and
let's do it.
So if you don't know Matt, which is really unlikely because he doesn't get to come back.
You've seen him once.
Yeah, it's my podcast. I can hang
long
this on you.
Ago.
Matt is the senior trainer here at the Coaching Institute.
Yeah.
You also coach, you mentor hundreds of people.
Yep.
You've been part of the training of probably around about 10% all the coaches in the world.
Yeah.
How good's that?
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And you joined, how many years ago did we first meet?
9 years ago.
So you started bugging me 9 years ago, that first interview.
That's right.
I remember because I ran your job interview.
You did.
How did we do?
Well, I was terrified.
You were terrible.
I was so scared. I remember you rang me up. It was unexpected. You called me, and I didn't know you were going to call me.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time, I knew nothing about my values. And I remember you said, "What are your values?"
Oh, you poor thing.
And I was pacing around the house because I wanted the job so bad.
Yeah.
I was pacing around the house, and I'm like, love. Growth, which actually are part of my values, but
with squeaky voice.
Yeah, I'm like, I got through that interview, so I was very proud of myself.
Yeah, I love it, and that was when I gave you the famous line that is famous for you and I, which is, "Don't think this means you have access to me."
Right.
And now every time we hang out, you get to say,
right. I point that out.
Yeah.
I have a lot of access.
I have access, so it wasn't true.
Way more access I have. I actually used to have 2 mobiles. I used to have both of those numbers.
Yeah. So if you got the so much for that.
Say, we would get lunch, and I would say, we're hanging out,
Yeah, you said I'd never do this.
It's happening again, so you obviously do really enjoy this. As much as you say you don't. And don't invite me back to your podcast. You do.
I do. Did you want these notes?
No, that's cool. You go through them.
You're good?
I'm good. I got them.
I've made notes.
Yeah, we can share them if I need them.
Okay. Yep. We can edit or just
we'll make it organic.
Seamless.
I like it. Yeah.
Great. So let's begin. Do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'd love to start with the frame that most people think about goals at this time of the year as New Year's resolutions.
They do.
I think that is the most common way to do
it.
So it's the beginning of the year. And I think it's easy to get excited about a goal at the beginning of the year because you haven't done anything yet. You're in that kind of fantasy world of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this.
It's going to be so different this
year. Exactly. It's going to be different. And then I don't know what the statistics are, but I imagine, I imagine it would be horrible in the amount of people that probably do nothing or
within
have a very,
very,
very short-lived fire. So I'd love to start with that frame. Why do you think so many people are so horrible at goal setting? Because we're going to talk so much about
New Year's resolutions,
the great way to do it.
I don't know the stats on goal setting, but New Year's resolutions, most people quit them before the end of the first month.
Yeah.
The majority of people, more than 50%.
Yeah.
So, firstly, I think people set New Year's resolutions when they're drinking. No, I'm kidding, but I imagine that.
It probably has something to do with it.
Or they're in that state, like you said, fantasy land where everything's possible and I'm going to be so different this year.
Right.
Instead of figuring out the behind-the-scenes stuff that we're going to talk about today that means we stick to it for the whole year and feel even better about it at the end of the year instead of feeling worse.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of New Year's resolutions, which I don't do, I don't think you do either, are a result of what we let ourselves down on the previous year.
Right.
So I'm going to drink less, I'm going to exercise more. That's generally the 2 major resolutions.
Yeah.
They fall in those camps. which are around health. But if the pattern for 12 months has been that's been happening a certain amount, you're going to need more than a resolution to make a substantial, sustainable change.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just declare it on one day of the year. Willpower will always be defeated by our imagination.
So one of the things that I find really interesting, and especially in today's world, is the lack of accepting personal responsibility in culture. There's a culture rising that doesn't agree with personal responsibility. It doesn't make sense to me. But do you think that's a component of why a lot of people don't achieve their goals? Because there's so many people that think, well, I'm gonna drink less, I'm gonna eat less, and then when it comes to, well, what's within my control? Well, if my sister stopped doing this, if my work stopped doing that, if the government started doing blah, maybe then I'd be able to, but I can't because it's out of my control. And do you think
as long as we think that we're at the beck and call of external forces, our New Year's resolution doesn't have any shot. It can't.
We don't have any.
There's nowhere for it to grow.
That's right.
It can't be nurtured. There's nothing nurturing it. There's nothing fertilizing it. That metaphor goes a long way. There's no sun on it because the sun's blocked out by all the reasons why we can't. So if the resolution, it's easy to make the resolution and then just forget all the reasons why we didn't in the previous year. But if we don't deal with all the reasons why we did in the previous year, we're just heading into the same year.
Yes.
And I think there's a massive conversation to be had around cause and effect and where we choose to have it lay. So I always talk to my husband, because we've been doing this now, working on our dream books for the last 2 weeks. We would put in, at the moment, probably an hour every other day together.
It's great.
It's amazing.
It's really good.
Brainstorming and pulling to pieces. Well, what was last year and what held us back in? They're not necessarily the same areas.
Yeah.
But what held me back in that area? Or where didn't I shine as much? Or where did I not live my full potential? So it's not a New Year's resolution, I need to exercise more, which I actually don't. But to maintain, my goal actually around health is to maintain my current exercise level.
Yeah.
So it's not just I'm resolved to do that. It's okay, what were the factors involved in that? What within my control and influence did I let myself down on? Where was I strong? Where could I be stronger? Where can I input? So I put a lot of sunlight on it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think people who have a resolution, and I mean that in the harshest sense, just they resolve and then 2 weeks later they run out of steam.
Yeah.
Part of it could be, and anyone listening or watching, you're going to know what it is for you if you're in this position, you're listening now, and it's at that point of 2 weeks into the new year and it's not happening. Maybe not reflecting on what you let get in your way. If you don't look at that, the same thing's getting in your way. And the other thing I talked to JP a lot about also, and we discuss a lot, is the difference between reactivity and proactivity. Being reactive to our day is pretty well going to kill the resolution.
Yeah.
We've got to be proactive about the day. So when we go through my dream book, it's ridiculous, the detail. It's pages and pages breaking down and really thinking about what would make this ideal, what needs to shift, or it's not major. Around physical health, when we get to it, say one of them is to be more flexible. It's just the smallest thing. It's just do 5 minutes more of yoga.
Yeah.
My big goal, would you believe, is when you do downward facing dog, is to get my heels on the ground because my hamstrings aren't very flexible.
Yeah,
and I've been trying for a year.
That's great.
So I'm still now
close?
Well, when I started, I had about that angle,
Yeah,
so about
that's where I am.
45 degrees. Really, I feel you.
Yeah.
And now I'm halfway through between 45 and ground, whatever that is.
Good
so
on you.
that's like the slowest journey ever.
Yeah.
But it's a small thing that I can control and influence.
Yeah.
So it is about what we can control, influence, what
Yes.
we can persuade ourselves we can impact and
Yeah.
be proactive about versus what we're going to externalize.
Yeah. One of the things that I love doing at the school here is using the Metadynamics profiling tool. And the profiling tool gives a really interesting insight. It breaks it down into 4 major categories for people that don't know about it, and then breaks it down into, I think it's 32 other little subcategories. And one of the traits that I find really interesting, I can't remember the name of the trait, but essentially what it is, it's what you were talking about. It's the ability to critically look at our strengths and our stretches.
Yeah.
Do you think that when that is low, that's going to hinder someone's ability to be able to achieve goals? Because when I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm thinking that's great, but I reckon there's a lot of people that just They just don't think, well, what needs to change? It's more just, that's what I want, that's what I want, that's what I want. You know, and it's...
And I think the question needs to be, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
It can't be, what do I want?
Yeah.
It's got to be, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
All my goals that we're going to go through today, you know, the goal setting strategy is based on who am I growing to be? And I've been doing it now for nearly 2 decades. So there's been, you know, what is it they say? If you want to fly from here to Hawaii, not that I would right now, but if I was to fly from here to Hawaii, you just need to be 2% off course and you're arriving in the Atlantic or somewhere bizarre.
Right.
So it's just the 2% each moment, just adjusting each year. So over 2 decades, if I adjust me by 2%, if I grow in an area by 2% a year, that compounds. That's a massive amount of change over 2 decades. Rather than use resolution, which is, it's got to all happen. I'm more into the incremental, and just rather than what I want to have, it's who do I want to be? And then when I decide, and I'm pretty clear on my future best self, when I'm clear on my future best self, which I put stacks of time into, then it's about, well, what would be expressions of that? And it could be, for example, to be my future best self is to continue being great at wealth creation. What would be an expression of that? And then I figure out, well, it would be to save a little bit of money into the investment account or whatever it is. So the doing or the having can't happen until I'm clear on who I need to be or who I want to be or who I'm growing to be. I don't have to get there this year. It's not a resolution. It's a lifetime. It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
I'm not planning to nail all this year. I've got a lifetime.
I think that's very important. Like, there's no place to arrive this year.
Ever.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Oh, every year doesn't a future stretch out?
Yeah, that's right.
So my future self goals now are so different to what they were 10 years ago because done. So now I'm on to, but I think we're generally predisposed to growth, to personal growth.
I completely agree.
And given that, you should outgrow visions of self.
Yeah, I think that if that's a major component of meaning versus depression, is there's never growth in depression.
No.
When someone gets to that point, they're not progressing. They're staying the same. They're perpetuating that same the groundhog cycle.
Yeah, they're in helplessness, hopelessness, and they're feeling a futility.
So let's talk more about the being and why that's so important. And I imagine a lot of people can't answer the question, who do I want to be? I imagine that a lot of people's answers are based on what they don't want to be.
Yep.
Well, I don't want to be like my father.
I don't want to be like my dad. That was mine. Solid answer.
Right. And it's like, well, what else? I'm not sure. As long as it doesn't land on that card.
Yes. I think it's okay bringing some of that to it if you then flip it.
Yeah.
So I do use people I look at around the world, and I'm being harsh with my dad, but there are definitely elements of my dad that I thought, no, I don't want to reflect that in me.
Yeah.
And it's how I was raised, so it could be. So then I just flip it. Well, then how do I want it to be? So flipping it to the positive. I mean, there's stacks of research behind this. This is really, everyone probably knows this. You need to flip it to the way you want it to be.
Yes.
So
what we focus on is what we get, and if we always just focusing on the negative,
that's what we're going to get.
That's what we're going to get.
Yeah. Even if you say, don't think of a purple elephant, you have to think of a purple elephant before you dismiss it and think of something else.
That's right.
So rather than thinking about,
my purple elephant is always in a room when I think about that. Is that weird? Instantly when I think about a perfect elephant, mine's small.
Yeah. Mine's small and in the lounge room.
In a corner.
Mine's in the middle of the lounge room.
Interesting.
And it squished my coffee table, so I'm quite disappointed with it. So way too much imagination. But anyway, so think of the negative and then flip it to, well, how would I like it to be instead? And I get masses of value out of going dark side, way more than you.
Yeah.
You go way more optimistic.
Yeah.
JP goes way more optimistic. That's just our genetics.
Yes.
Don't fight it. It is what it is. But I also embrace how dark side I want to get. So I do go to, well, I don't want to be blah, but then I make sure I do the next step.
Yeah.
So what that means is I want to cultivate whatever within me. So generosity or gracefulness or good manners or etiquette, whatever it is. I flipped it from what I didn't admire in myself or in someone else.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's what got me to where I am now, is a massive, strong moving away from what I don't want.
Yep.
And then it was surrounding myself with people like yourself and other people in the school and people that I've met through TCI to then get examples. Oh, that's what it's like on the other side.
So it could be like that.
That's the opposite.
I didn't know that was available.
That's right. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to set that as a goal. That's really cool. Because in the beginning, it was just, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that. And so it's like, it was nearly in the beginning, like anything that's the opposite is great.
Yep.
And then I needed to seek out examples, and then those examples led me to more examples. And then now I have benchmarks for what I want.
And how long did that take?
Well, I think it's a constant thing.
So it's been at least 10 years now already.
Yeah, it's, I think I just getting better at it.
Yeah.
Getting better and better and better at it. But even the drive of moving away for me is still there. That I don't want to fall back into that, or I see examples. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, this is something that I find very, very important for me, and I find it a massive problem in a lot of people's lives, is the inability to face what is screwed about your life. And I see that as it's a cancer in people's mind. Just to say for example, you're really overweight and you don't face it. And I watched an interview the other day with, I don't know if you like Piers Morgan, but I watched an interview with him. He's an interesting dude.
He's interesting. Let's go with that.
And our interview...
Some would say.
He's really blunt. Yeah. He's very opinionated. And so I was watching an interview between him and a woman who was classified as morbidly obese. And the argument was... is it okay for her to be a popular figure saying, hey, this is just me, this is just where I'm at.
Body positive.
Yeah, this is, I'm accepting me, which I think the acceptance and the love, 100% is required. But then to not say, well, and I'm going to do something about my weight because I'm probably going to die early, which is just a fact. I find a lot of people aren't good at looking at what's wrong and saying, well, this is actually a major problem. We should do something about this. And a lot of people are stuck in this mindset of avoiding it.
Well, you've picked a really politically charged example.
Yeah.
So I'm just working out in my mind.
You're welcome.
Do I dodge? Do I weave? How many trolls do I need in my life?
Well, this podcast is a safe space. So we can light a candle if that's going to help.
Thanks, Matt.
I actually have candles.
So, okay, do I go for that example? I'm not going to use Piers Morgan.
We can move that example out. Yeah, we can just talk about it.
But I'm going to address it so everybody knows where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Yes, and there is a massive movement for political correctness and judgment somehow being skewed with good health.
Yeah.
So anything goes as long as you're happy seems to be the preferred cultural norm for some people, not for most people. Yeah. The majority of people are hearing that going, well, if you're morbidly obese, lose some weight and take responsibility.
Look, I think through the frame of, well, if that was my daughter, right? Like I'm about to have my first son. I'm like, if that was my daughter, I would be like, well, I would to love you, I would think, well, that would mean I would want to help you live longer.
Yeah.
I would want you to be alive and have wellness. And
if they know that and still make that choice, rock on.
Yeah,
That's the decision they've made.
Totally.
I'm not part of the politically correct set that says everything goes as long as you declare your happiness and that you're loving where you're at, if it's killing you. Yeah. I'm kind of like, well, there's some science behind the fact that what you're doing right now is really hurting you.
Right.
And me talking about the science isn't me judging you.
Yeah.
And it isn't me seeing you as being less than. I'm just saying the science.
Right.
And I think we're getting too scared of the science and too scared of what the facts are.
Yes.
And getting caught up too much in the cultural crap that goes on around it. So I don't know if I'm going to use a Piers Morgan example because it's so politically charged. Sure. I just can't be bothered.
Yep.
And it's the new year and it's my podcast, so fuck it.
I'm definitely not getting invited back again. This is what happened last time.
This is like, you're looking at season 6 now, Matt.
This is Matt Lavars. He's back again on season 8.
Cameo appearance in disguise. But people who don't have self-awareness.
Yeah.
So don't tell me things are great as you drink yourself to death.
Right.
Don't tell me things is great as you yell at your wife every single day.
Right.
Don't tell me everything's fine as you never get off the couch and just watch hours of reruns.
Right.
Don't try and convince me you've got your New Year's resolutions when they include doing things that you've never in the last 10 years shown a history of remotely being able to achieve.
Yeah.
That's the pie in the sky stuff I can talk about because... No, that's a
Yeah.
lack of self-awareness.
And I think a lot of that would be a lot of people's New Year's resolutions.
What's that?
What you've just shared.
Yeah.
Those goals would be
Yes.
New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. Or it could be something more flavoursome, like I'm going to become my own boss. Well, hang on. Is there any evidence that you not having structure in your day has been healthy for you. So when structure's been removed, what do you do? So structure's taken away from me, I rock. You know this. This is why I have the businesses I have. I am more empowered, I'm proactive, I'm motivated, I'm inspired, I create structures for other people. I'm in my happy place.
Amazing. I nap more.
Knowing our strengths, having that self-awareness. And Joe did the same thing. You know, there are people with us who have amazing talent like yourself. I'm editing that out if you're wondering.
Thank you so much. It's going to replay that bit.
over.
Create like a little video
What was that you said about me again?
Amazing talent.
I'm going to pay for that for
down.
years.
Amazing talent.
For years, I'm going to be paying the price. But speaking on your behalf, and please jump in, you know your happy place is to be around a team and not to be on your own.
100%.
You're not happy on your own.
No, it's depressing.
Yeah. So, whereas for me, you know me.
You love it.
Can I not take phone calls today? I'm good both ways.
Yep.
So don't declare you're going to go into business for yourself and fire your boss for your New Year's resolution if there is no evidence that you've managed to structure your life without having structure given to you. And there's no evidence that you've managed to produce income without it being given to you.
So would you define one of the ways of increasing self-awareness? Because we're about to go into the ways that we be more self-aware and the different kind of types of goal setting. One of the ways to develop more self-awareness would be to face reality.
Yeah. Yeah. So
come from that point to
don't
begin.
see it worse than it is. So don't beat up on yourself.
That's right.
Don't pretend or concrete over it. It's like everything's fine, nothing to see here. It'll work out.
Magical thinking of just like, it'll work out this year, it'll work out.
It'll be completely different this year, which is absolutist thinking, which is a very developmentally immature, infantile form of
Everything will
thinking.
change.
Everything will be so much better this year.
Right.
This is a new year. Actually, no, it's just a different date.
Yeah.
And we arbitrarily place this as the year of 2021.
That's
and
right.
I quite like those arbitrary set points. It allows me to do wonderful things with my goals.
Yeah.
But unless I'm going to change something within me that is I'm capable of changing.
Yeah.
And there's also about working within the limits of our personality types.
Yeah.
There is a massive amount of genetic code going on that dictates how conscientious we are capable of being, how open to new experience we're capable of being, how driven we're going to be. So this is on I'm talking about the big five personality types. You know, how assertive we can be versus agreeable. And if we're not really showing that we have some of that personality type in us, but we're making these declarations that require adventure and high risk and a maybe change and learning something new, and we're low on those, it's probably going to be really pushing the whole thing uphill until mid-January when it conks, because it's not natural to who we are.
I really love that. So let's unpack that more. The difference between setting your goals versus someone else's goals.
Yes.
And I think with social media, I reckon probably makes this a little bit worse, that we are plugged into, or a lot of people are plugged into everyone else's lives. You know, it's like, well, this person is living on a lake and this is what they're doing. And maybe that's what I want. Yeah. You know, and also another trait that makes it harder is when someone is highly agreeable, they don't really know their own goals, or they tend to be more pleasing of other people's situations.
And they get lost in it.
They just, well, what do I want? I think I want what the media tells me that I want. And then that is a choice for disaster.
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at it. I love talking about self-concordance. So I'm a big fan of self-concordance, which is having goals or making choices that are aligned with our interests, our priorities, and our values, and ensuring that we know our personal motivation for it. So to place us at the central hub before the goal, know your values. Before the goal, know what you prioritize. And if you heavily prioritize having your day structured for you and you're lost without it, I would probably include a goal that allows that to continue.
Right.
So I know, what's the guy's name? He's really famous now this is so bad. I should so know his name. The famous guy who's huge on social media, and Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay.
I apologize, Gary.
I was going to go anywhere. I'm like, the guy? You know the guy, right?
Super helpful.
On video? On social media?
Yeah, the guy.
Okay, is it me? Yeah, it was you. Yeah, you're out.
So he always talks about having the thing on the side.
Right.
Well, have the thing, because I keep talking about business goals right now, but we can shift to any of them. But it's
Right.
just such a good example. For some people, that's great.
Oh, the side hustle.
The side hustle. He calls
Right.
it a side hustle.
Right.
And yes, do side hustle if you can't manage your shit on your own all day, every day, week after week after week.
Right.
If that turns to bedlam, inertia, procrastination, that is feedback. Keep it as a side hustle. That's so... And then learn if you can build the side hustle into taking over more of your life, which is what a lot of our coaches do.
That's right.
But to a lot of coaches that train with us, we say it's a side hustle.
Yeah, and
Keep earning.
For a lot of people, they love it. It gives them more meaning because they're
Yeah.
doing what they love.
Yeah.
A sense of achievement. It gives them fulfillment. They can contribute more.
Yeah.
And it
They're
doesn't,
learning,
doesn't
they're
include
growing.
the stress of how do I do this and generate $150,000 a year.
How do I pay my mortgage?
Yeah.
Let that be a genuine stressor. Being a provider and being able to take care of business, that is fundamental to human nature and feeling good about ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's not deny it and think, I'm going to live the entrepreneur's dream. Well, hang on. Is there entrepreneur in you?
Yeah.
Most businesses fail for a reason. So I just think, and then we go to health. If last year there was a lot of couch watching and when you could have been doing push-ups, and there was a lot of drinking when it could have been sparkling water or whatever,
Yep.
note that that's probably meaning you're not going to take care of it unless you take care of what your foundation values are.
Yeah.
And there's two schools of thoughts on values. Values are what we have and we just come to realize them more, or values are ones we can select and grow into. And there is pretty good research to say most values probably are going to be a reflection of our true nature, which is, by true nature, our genetics.
Yeah.
That's what our true nature is.
Yeah.
So we can't really fight City Hall and
Yeah.
say, well, I've shown all my life that my strength is in data entry, sitting in the same office all day, my boss never changing, me know exactly my car park, I know exactly where to get my coffee, nothing changes, and now I'm suddenly an entrepreneur and I'm going to value risk taking.
Right.
No, you can rock on. We'll talk about it in a year's time.
Yeah.
But maybe incorporate what you value, which is stability, certainty, a level of control over your environment,
Right.
and build that into what is going to become your goal.
Yeah.
Rather than deciding to go from country to rock and roll. It's just
Totally.
too big a shift.
It's amazing how much of an impact that has on our happiness and our wellness as well. Like if I spend too much time answering emails, I think I get sad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
because the contrast I have
Yeah.
is because I'm so into connection.
Yeah.
Connection's like
Give me a phone call.
my
God's
fire.
sake, someone phone. Is that what it is? I need a Zoom call now.
Yeah, and I'm like where other people in the team, I know they'd hate to be on camera or on a mentoring call. I'm
Yeah.
like, give me a student to connect to,
Yes.
and I just light up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I finish my day. I like to do coaching at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I can finish my day like that, and it's like, great, thank you so much. And I get into these spaces where I think, oh, I don't even want any money. This is so
This is amazing.
I don't continue on with that thought, of course, but
And you don't seem to communicate it to me that often.
oh, not at all. Delete. But yeah, it's so important
And
to know
playing
what
to
drives
that.
you.
So
That's
if you
right.
don't mind being that person answering the emails all day, that's feedback that you're more internally driven, internal
Yeah.
world, introverted.
Yeah.
Massive generalization. I don't know you, but
Yeah.
the person that's listening. But
Yeah.
go with that and
Go with that.
build your world around where you're showing a preference. And if you don't like that about yourself, then do the side hustle and see if you can build a different preference. But you're not going to count on it and think it's going to come off as a New Year's resolution.
Hey, Matt here from the Coaching Institute. If you're loving what you're hearing so far and you want to start setting and achieving goals for yourself this year, we're gifting you a world-class goal-setting companion bundle valued at almost $600 for free. Whether it's because you want to understand why New Year's resolutions don't work, or you want to start achieving your 2021 goals, this bundle has the answers for you. With your free Goal Setting Success Platinum Bundle, you get access to a personal success planning session with a member of our team, a 2-part video masterclass on connecting with your goals, and a series of goal-setting mindset strategy manuals. All of this is valued at just under $600, but today, prospective listeners get it completely for free. All you have to do is click the link in the description below.
So an idea that's more and more prevalent now than I think it's ever been is the desire to make a difference and make an impact.
Yeah.
And I think that in a way, people misunderstand that, and they think that it means that you have to be in a business that's building an orphanage, versus you can be making a difference in a shoe shop.
Yeah, I'll make a difference when.
Yeah, like you can.
I'll make a difference when.
Right, because I think, for example, our administrator Naomi, who works here, I'm pretty sure she loves being an administrator.
Yeah.
When we hired her, we said, so tell us what you're into, and she's like, oh my god, I just love taking care of things, and I'm just like, great.
And in 5 years' time, what would you be doing? Taking care of things.
Yeah, like this is your happy place.
Yeah.
And so.
And she lights up
completely. And so I think that.
Don't put me in that role.
That'd be funny. I'm going to do it for like April Fool's Day or something like that. I'm like, we need someone to come and answer emails. You're it. You're our best choice.
I'll miss everything out.
What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that a lot of people get a little bit too addicted to this grandiose kind of idea of everything needs to be majorly contributing? Like I've had some people leave TCI because they want to make more of a difference. I had someone say to me the other day, I kind of feel like I feel the best when I know I'm part of something. And I'm like, how are you not part of something?
Yeah.
What's going on in your mind that tells you you're not part of it?
And what did they say?
It was like, okay, like they got it. Like, so, okay, yeah, no, I am part of something.
Well, I think that's different. So we'll talk about making a difference versus some other goals.
Yeah.
But that's also an example of it's always greener.
Right.
Which just...
Yes.
That's
yes.
BS. It's
yes.
never greener anyway because you're taking you with you.
Yes.
So that to me is I don't know me enough to know what I value.
Yes.
Therefore, I don't have a checklist that when something happens, is it a match to what I value?
Yeah.
Is that a match to what I value, which is how I live? Is that a match to, I value meaningfulness. Is that a match to meaningfulness?
Yes.
Is that a match to meaningfulness?
Yeah.
Can I help it become more meaningful to me?
Yeah.
Versus the person who says, this isn't me. Well, hang on. Well, what is you? Well, I don't know. I'll go and find it. No, if you ain't finding it here, you ain't finding it somewhere else.
That's
because chasing who we are
That's really good.
is inevitable pain. Discovering who we are, where we at. So the number of times I say to our students, love where you're at.
Yeah.
Dig where you're at. Learn self-awareness around how you got where you're at. And then the next moment will unfold based on the growth versus the next moment you having to reset, start again from scratch because this didn't do it for me, maybe that will.
Yeah.
This didn't do it for me, maybe that will. And that's how we have younger people just job hopping. Well, stop expecting the world to deliver amazing for you. The world doesn't have to do all the things you want it to do. The company isn't responsible for your personal development. The company is not responsible for you being all you can be. You are.
Yeah.
And if you turn up with that attitude, you'll discover amazing where you're at. Because a company like ours, we're going to love that and nurture it and help it and contribute to it. But we're not responsible for it. So I think there's two conversations there. It's the person who wants to outrun themselves because if this isn't doing it for me, there's something wrong with it. It is you.
Yes.
And you're just going to take you to the next geographic shift.
Yeah.
That's all that's happening. We've seen that happen.
Yeah. I have a lot of experience with that in relationships.
Really?
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah, until now. Of course, until now. Thinking that, this must be a better one. It can't be me.
Yeah.
That's causing this problem.
Well, it's hard for some people to say it's me.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what to do with that.
I think it was my foundations weekend here at TCI was
Got
the
you
first
realizing?
moment where I go, oh.
Really? Was it shit?
It was but it was excited as well.
Oh, good.
Because I have got, in the school here, we get all the tools to change it. So it was the beginning of,
she had something to do
I'm
with
the
it.
common denominator.
Yeah,
in
everywhere
all
I
this
go.
Craziness. Yeah. This is crazy. I literally used to say to myself, all women must be crazy, all of them. That was a mantra. How dumb is that? And I never had the self-awareness.
Wow.
To think. I know. I laugh at it because I think how...
That wow was out loud. I apologize.
Yeah, how far off was I?
Internal wow.
You think it would be obvious. And then I came to TCR and I was like, oh. And then I started remembering back relationships and I was like seeing them differently.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that was me.
Yeah.
I was causing that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's something I can do about it. There's something I can change.
Well, and I think that's why it's easy to stay out of self-awareness because once I'm self-aware, it's me. Now what? Most people don't know what to do with that.
Right.
That's really painful.
It's a really good point.
So it's a lot easier. So one of the other theories, we talked about self-concordance. One of the other theories I really love is goal contents theory, which comes from self-determination theory. Fabulous theory. And it talks about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic goals. So a lot of people set extrinsic goals, fame, fortune, Instagram fame, whatever, versus intrinsic goals. So personally feeling I'm living a life of meaning, I'm making a difference where I'm at, or connecting with this person's really significant to me, not because of them, but because of what I can bring to it. Yeah. So there's intrinsic and extrinsic. And I think a lot of us get invested in the extrinsic, that I'll go for that. And if I'm working in a company and it doesn't give me those extrinsic goals, fame, fortune, feeling of significance, being noticed, all this external stuff, I'm going to want to shift in the hope that somewhere else will deliver that. Right. But all the research shows it's the pathway to having lower well-being. Yeah. Absolutely start feeling sadder. It's an energy sapper. Yep. So we're also going to want to shift locations and have wonderful New Year's resolutions that have this stuff in it, because we think if only I could become more famous, richer, money will solve it. It never does. Any money, by the way, over 75,000, generally you can't get any happier. So there you go. Yeah,
isn't amazing.
It's
an amazing study.
The stacks has been replicated over and over.
I think it's from if you're a zero, from 0 to 50 is all up. Huge. Yeah, huge. But then 75 and above, it's just it doesn't go up.
So what we can do if we don't know how to get self-aware is have extrinsic goals. Well, maybe I'll be happy when I have more blank.
Right.
Have more money, have better car, have better house. There is no evidence to suggest that that's ever going to be true, but we can get addicted to that, and that could become the New Year's resolution. I'm going to get a better body. I'm going to do whatever it is.
Right.
And we just keep chasing this external, which gets us further away from knowing how to be with us.
Yeah.
And we become an expert at chasing the external, which means we stop building muscle, the neurology we need, to be into us, to love where we're at, and to appreciate our own qualities.
Yep.
Because it looks like, based on our goals, it'll all be solved if that changes out there.
Yeah.
Versus intrinsic goals that start, and the self-concordance goals that start bringing the attention, the focus. This is the beginning of self-awareness. Well, how do I build the human being in me that I connect with, that I love, that I enjoy hanging out with?
Yeah.
And that's really where I focus when I do all of this.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people that will listen to our podcast, and especially students of TCI, I know a lot of them listen to our podcast. Our podcast.
Nice one.
It's our podcast now, just in case anyone is wondering. It's going to change the name of it. That's why it's called Perspectives, not Perspective. Anyway, a lot of people will resonate with the challenge of being like a caretaker, right? Being a hero, being someone whose goals are oriented around others.
Yep.
Right? So others focused. And I speak to a lot of people, and it's like, well, what do you do? Well, I take care of the kids, and I do this for my husband, and I do this for other people, and I do this at work, and then I do this here, and then it's like, oh, I don't have time for myself. And I think that's a major roadblock for a lot of people, is just their focus of their goals are not for them. So many people.
Well, if it gives them joy, rock on with your good self. I mean, if that's your happy 100%, place,
100%. If you love it, if you're healthy, if it's great.
Yes, I've been with people recently, and they've given me the same thing. Who am I without this? And I was like, well, that's feedback.
Yeah.
There's a difference between it gives me joy, and I'm just telling you how happy I am with my life.
Right.
Versus, if I don't have that, who am I?
Bianca told me today that she gets joy from cooking me food, and I just said, fuck, that is the best thing for my life ever. Thank you so much. Yep. And also, I'm so happy for you and me.
Yep. It works out really well. Let's hope she keeps that. That
what happened to that joy?
That extrinsic. That's an external. Let's hope she keeps that. Let's hope it gives her an intrinsic feeling.
Oh, I think it does.
And that it's self-concordant, because otherwise...
That's right.
Learn to cook.
Learn to...
My husband and I had the opposite conversation. I said to him, I do not get joy out of making you meals. So he does most of our meals, and it works out really well.
Yeah.
We could do a whole thing on working that out. But let me keep going on this.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
Where were we?
We're talking about people that are more focused on others.
So people who say, who am I without all this, or I don't have time for me, that's really big feedback. Because if you're doing all these things for others and you don't see you in that, that's feedback that you've given yourself up, and you've created distractions around you. As noble as they seem,
That's right.
As noble as they seem, that is a great way to escape from knowing self. So it just depends on where you're coming from. So if your perspective is, I'm doing all these wonderful things and I show up in motherhood and I show up in being a partner with my husband or my wife or my partner, however that is. I'm in there when I'm doing these things for others. It just brings the best out of me. Rock on with your good self. But if you talk with me about it and you say, well, I don't have time for me because I'm doing all these things for others, I'm seeing perhaps an opportunity here for learning a different way of looking at it, because I believe what my experience has been. Who am I kidding? It's not what I believe. I literally have done this thousands of times, and that they have created opportunities to, inverted commas, serve others so they can just be distracted from how they can be in it. Because there is nothing wrong with being a mother, but if you think there's no time for you in motherhood because you don't believe you're in, do you get what I'm saying? It's no room for you. That's the feedback.
One of my favorite quotes from Erik Erikson is that the most detrimental thing that can happen to the child is the unlived lives of the parents.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I also notice, and I'm not a mum, so I can really cop some flack for going in this territory, but I've done enough thousands of coaching hours now with enough mothers where they disappear themselves and then they make sure that their kids aren't that responsible at ages where it would be appropriate for them to start taking on responsibility. So they keep doing all their things for their kids because otherwise it doesn't get done, they say. Well, hang on. That's a really good way of you staying invisible.
I had a really wonderful coaching session with a mum that was around exactly that. And the realization that she had was I was talking about the importance of developing autonomy in the kids. And I was talking about how important that is. And without autonomy, they're not going to be able to live the lives that they want. And the realization is that with her over-mothering, she's taking away their autonomy.
Yeah.
So it's like, it actually is, as much as maybe you don't want to think about it, it is a self-serving thing.
Well,
it's really not.
It's also the butterfly metaphor, which I love.
Yeah.
So the guy walks along and sees a butterfly trying to come out of a cocoon and looks like it's really struggling.
Yeah.
So he, inverted commas, super helpful, snips with scissors so the butterfly can get out easier and the butterfly dies. Well, because it actually had to go through the process of that struggle and strain and the pressure of the cocoon and its fabric against it for it to form into being a butterfly.
Yeah.
I love that metaphor.
It's perfect.
So in self-determination theory, there's autonomy, competence, and belongingness. And we need to cultivate those three things in our families and in ourselves.
Yeah.
So in terms of being a mother or father, are you installing in your child the capacity for autonomy, which is freedom to think and feel for ourselves and act accordingly? That is wonderful. Competence, are you helping them are you building your own competence as a human being and allowing them to build theirs? So what are they becoming competent in other than obedience? That's really key. Or compliance. And then belongingness. Do you relate to others in a healthy way, in a functional way? If you have those three as part of your goal setting, that's a pretty good start to the year versus a New Year's resolution. So where are you demonstrating autonomy this year? Where are you building your competence? Where are you building your belongingness and sense of connection to others? They are wonderful motivators for us. They lead to us feeling more psychological well-being. Right. It's a really good foundation. It's quite simple.
It's also important to not keep our, a lot of people have the dichotomous thinking of, well, that's really awesome, so it's all that, versus the extrinsic goals are important, right? We want to have both. We want to have
go for the
intrinsic
extrinsic,
goals.
but if it's what dominates you, you're not going to really feel content within yourself.
So I feel more, it's a constant thing, and I imagine it's the same for you. I feel more and more belonging than I've ever felt each year. I feel more and more connected. I feel more and more calm and certain and healthier, and it just keeps on growing, which is really awesome. Also, while I was on holiday, I was driving around my local area in St Kilda with some friends in my M4 convertible, and I was thinking to myself, I love this car.
Yeah.
This is
I get that.
So nice.
Yeah.
We've got the wind, the sun, the beach. So
and it gives you a feeling of significance
and
what you've grown.
Yeah, I feel proud.
It's evidence of what you've created.
I'm not driving it like I'm in debt. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not a bad decision.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to encourage people to have both.
Have the good things in life,
right?
But don't go into debt because you think it will give you happiness,
right? Because I think a lot of people they go black and white and they say, well,
It's all
none of that
spiritual.
stuff matters. That's right.
It's
So
all
none of it
spiritual,
matters. So
yeah.
I've got me, and I'm like, well, you could also have
Yeah.
a clean house.
Yes.
You know, and a place, a big table enough for people to have dinner.
Yes.
Right? You can have those things as
I
well.
like that. Yeah. Versus the young person I know who came to Melbourne for a short time and literally lived for 6 months on a milk crate.
Yeah.
That was the entire apartment.
Yeah. It's very sad.
Yes, I think it's a great point. That,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's even balance. I'm really nervous of that word. I think that word sucks.
Yeah.
It's knowing ourselves enough to know what fruits of our labour do we want to demonstrate. And for you and I, it's a really nice car. Whatever that is, but let it be the fruits of your labour. Don't just go, I really want an expensive sports car.
Sure. I just deserve it.
Yeah, why shouldn't I? You do.
Right.
It can't be that. That's such infantile thinking.
That's
It's got to be, how do I want to demonstrate the fruits of my labour? How do I want to demonstrate the value that I've given? It's all about the value we're giving to our community.
Yes.
And if there's value given to our community, that we can expect there to be a really good reciprocity there,
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
But it can't be, I'm just going to put a wish list or a New Year's resolution together, includes expensive car and holidays and
Right.
six-pack abs. You got to earn the biceps.
Right.
You and I were just talking about that off camera. Like, we earn the biceps.
Yeah.
That's a year, Matt, of every day
So much effort.
doing planks every day throughout the entire pandemic since February. I've been doing that. So the external goal is I want to have a good body, but I'm earning it through the value I'm providing to myself and how I'm turning up for myself every single day. So don't have the big goal if you're not doing all the little steps that get you there.
That's right.
And the other thing is, which we haven't mentioned yet, don't look at how anybody else is living their lives and think, I wish I had that. I had someone say that to me once, not just once, but anyway, I remember one time, because I have as you know, a policy, I don't turn up to 11, and I've done other things before that.
Yeah.
I run my life the way I want to run it.
Yeah.
And one of our team, who's no longer with us, said, oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I could do that. Okay, I'll explain what I've been doing since 6, shall I?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'll explain what you're looking at 15, back then it was about 15 years in. I'll explain to you how 15 years ago I made a decision to work every single day for 2 years straight, including Christmas Day, not have a day off, so I could be in the position to call it and say I'm going to start at 10, 11 each day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about all the little steps that are invisible before you say you wish you had what I had.
And again, that's self-awareness.
It is.
Right. I remember there was a moment in my life when I decided, because I was inspired by a friend who plays the piano really, really well. He is just like, oh my God, you could cry just listening to how good he is.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to learn to play the piano. And then I got one lesson and I thought, I'm just going to play Spotify. It's like,
I'm the same.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm the same.
And with other goals like speaking, training, coaching, business, relationships, health,
You do
fitness,
the hours at 6 a.m.
I'm going to do all that stuff because I'm more connected to that.
Yeah. Rather than I just want to be a speaker. Why aren't I a speaker? You
Right.
do all the miles. So I'm the same
Yeah.
with the piano.
Yeah.
I'm the same with the guitar.
Yeah.
I hear guitar playing and I just think that's amazing.
Oh.
And then I tried to learn the scales and my fingers got bruised. I thought, fuck
Yeah.
it.
Then you face reality and think, do I really want this goal?
Yeah.
Or am I just cool just enjoying this?
Yeah, I really want it. I just don't want the work.
Yes.
So I don't really deserve it because I
Yeah.
don't want the work. You've got to want the work.
That's right.
So every part of what we build, you better want all the work that goes to
I am going to ask you questions about that book, but do you do you use the mindset of try and enjoy the process as much as you can?
Well, I think the process is the point.
Yeah.
The
'cause
journey
that's-
is the point. The arrival is not.
Yeah.
It's ever expanding, ever moving target. I'm never landing.
Because I think that's the same thinking that we're talking about before. And I think it starts in childhood. It's like,
I'll be happy when I
Right.
have. No,
when I
I
get
don't
to
do
school,
that.
when I get a partner, then when I get divorced. It's
Yeah,
like
I just don't have that at all. If I can't create happiness in the day I'm having,
Yeah.
then it's how I'm showing up in the day I'm having that needs
Yeah.
to be looked at.
Hey, Matt here from the Coaching Institute. If you're loving what you're hearing so far and you want to start setting and achieving goals for yourself this year, we're gifting you a world-class goal-setting companion bundle valued at almost $600 for free. Whether it's because you want to understand why New Year's resolutions don't work or you want to start achieving your 2021 goals, this bundle has the answers for you. With your free Goal Setting Success Platinum Bundle, you get access to a personal success planning session with a member of our team, a 2-part video masterclass on connecting with your goals, and a series of goal-setting mindset strategy manuals. All of this is valued at just under $600, but today, Perspective listeners get it completely for free. All you have to do is click the link in the description below.